Hi, my name is Gerhard Gschwandtner and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the great pleasure of meeting with Gopkiran Rao, and he is Chief Marketing Officer at MindTickle.
Gerhard, I'm delighted to be here with you this afternoon, or rather evening your time.
I'd like to get your views on what we can look forward to in 2021. So what is it that you're seeing as the number one problem that sales leaders are facing and frontline managers?
If you look at, I think, what companies historically have had to deal with in terms of equipping their salespeople, their customer-facing teams with, just over the last couple of years, it's a perfect storm. Customers have changed fundamentally their buying behavior and their purchasing behavior. They're more well-informed. They are doing a ton more research well ahead before they're willing to even engage with a seller. And there are tons more buyers that are part of that buying journey. And I think what the pandemic has done is it has really focused all of these perfect storm of forces into a fine point of infinite pressure on the seller. And so for CROs, and I think for companies in general, as we start emerging out of, hopefully, the current situation into this new normal, hybrid, next normal situation everyone is speculating about, the question fundamentally becomes, do I have the measure of my people in terms of what they know, what they do, what they say, what they show, whether they're presenting on a 10 by 12 inch screen or in person? And I think having the measure of that capability is, in my opinion, going to be the single most important force that differentiates between successful companies and, kind of the also-rans. You will also need to be able to engage, excite, and ready your sellers with, role-specific knowledge, skill, oversight, in-field monitoring, and coaching from your managers.
How do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah.
Why haven't traditional approaches worked?
One of the things that I spend a lot of my time doing is conducting research. And we recently did one with an organization called Revenue Collective, where we polled 100 CROs and revenue leaders. And we asked them, what are your three most pressing initiatives? And it was interesting, 67%, roughly 70% said, getting salespeople that are new to the org ramped up and productive. And they went from there, which is a very human-centric, people-centric problem, to saying efficiently distributing marketing content. And then they went back and said, preparing experienced reps to sell a new product. And so when I talk to customers, 70% of the companies that work with MindTickle tell us today that before they even considered coming to us, their approach to onboarding was completely sequential, offline, in person. And here's the problem. One more set of numbers, for our audience. The average human attention span is 20 minutes. For online video, for all the claims we made about how effective it is 60 seconds, 60 seconds. So where I think we are differentiated is, the first thing is we are focused on the behavior that we want our customers to define as success, or have the profile of an ideal selling behavior or an ideal selling rep. The second thing we do is we work with them to decompose that behavior into specific competencies that are role specific, and then decompose that into the hard skills and soft skills. And then we say, don't boil the ocean. Pick the 5 that matter the most. The third thing is deliver the training in the flow of work, in the context of that person's day. Be aware that humans are not like 2 widgets coming out of a factory production machine. They don't look and behave the same. Why would they be trained and taught to learn the same way? Why would they be coached the same way? So take into account individual experiences, preferences into account. And then the fourth thing is, make coaching an integral part of that readiness experience. Give managers the ability to shadow, to role play, to monitor, but bring in new technologies like AI and machine learning to take some of that cognitive overload from managers so they don't have to observe every meeting or be on every call. Put things like conversational intelligence into play.
So that brings me to the next question, which is, how can sales enablement and revenue enablement leaders create immediate value and also long-term value?
I think one of the things revenue leaders in particular need to do is they need to think about incremental bite-sized programs that will drive immediate value, for their organizations, for themselves, while keeping the big picture in mind of needing to have this capability index that gives them the measure of the revenue power of their organization. So it can be very tactically, let's focus on an onboarding program But within that onboarding program, let's identify specific cohorts and identify what best practices and or gaps we have in terms of making a successful onboarding program work. Let's pick 2 or 3 skill areas that we know are critical for us to bridge the gap between us and our competition and create an upskilling program where we can take existing sellers through it and have a cohort that's being also trained offline to understand that A/B test in terms of what works, orchestration, content, monitoring, reporting, etc. And the third thing I think is drive the two-way, communication of information with the field. Don't put enablement people in the difficult role of pushing out a ton of content, a ton of programs that the salesperson who already is having a lot of cognitive overload now has to deal with. Instead of being in the field, they're spending more time in training programs or learning programs. So I think the use of surveys, of quizzes, of polls, of two-way coaching assessments that drive kind of a 360-degree communication loop back from the field and incorporating that into an enablement program changes it from being a bad word to something that the reps actually welcome, because they are partners to the CRO and to the enablement team in terms of, motivated versus unmotivated enablement.
A lot of sales enablement leaders that are listening to us right now, you may want to go to MindTickle.com and check out the rich content that they are offering.